Welcome to another edition of The Exhibit, hosted by yours truly, Josina Anderson. And today we have a very special guest in the building. Flew all the way in from Los Angeles today. You have seen him on favorites like The Wire, American Gods, Orange is the New Black, The Manchurian Candidate, Skyscraper, 13 Hours in Benghazi, Den of Thieves, Halo, and so much more. Canadian American, Tony and Emmy nominated actor, and more importantly, huge Jets fan in the building. I still think he's a Jets fan. We're definitely going to get into that. Pablo Schreiber in the building. Everybody, come on. The gallery, I need some claps behind the scenes. Come on now. Oh, we don't have the reggae horn? We don't have the reggae horn. What's going on, Pablo?
Not much. Thank you for having me.
How are you feeling?
I'm good, man. You know, just
how was the flight in?
Good, easy. Got nice weather here.
Yeah.
I was expecting some heat and some
heat.
humidity.
Yeah, you came when it was a little bit cooler.
I like it.
But that's okay. That's
no,
all
it's
right.
good. That's a good thing.
We need it warm from our Bermuda grass, which we did talk about behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Now, we are definitely going to get into some of your new projects on deck, like His and Hers, and obviously Motor City, and the arc of your career in nature and all that other stuff. But first, we definitely got to dive right in to your New York Jets. First of all, how did you become a Jets fan?
Man, I landed in New York in 2000. I graduated from Carnegie Mellon University, went there for 4 years, and landed in New York. And it was like you choose either the Jets or the Giants.
Yes.
Giants uniforms are too boring.
Oh,
You know,
we're coming out hot.
I like green. It's my favorite color.
Okay, that makes sense.
Back in those days, it was like Vinny Testaverde. Then we had Chad Pennington. Eventually, we went to a couple of AFC championships with Rex Ryan. Had some good years there.
That was a long time
ago. Man, it feels like even longer than it is, let me tell you. I just got wrapped up. There was something about the culture at the time. Now it feels like a bit of a...
What does it feel like?
Like we're mulling in some kind of infernal torture that will never end, you know? But that's always been the DNA of being a Jets fan, right, is that you suffer through absolutely everything. So, now it's just the last few years with the Aaron Rodgers circus thing, I'm really glad that we're getting back to at least just being quiet and, That's the one thing Aaron Glenn's doing that I sign off. No, there's a few things he's doing I sign off on, but definitely needed a culture shift.
So what was your reaction to the Jets moving on from Aaron, just besides the fact that you said that there was a culture shift, but he is a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah. No,
was he not the best quarterback option, or you're good with this? You're confident in this?
Confident? No Jets fan is ever confident. And if they tell you they are, then they're lying.
Okay.
No, like I said, we dwell in the pain of our terrible football team. But I think it's the best option. Justin Fields, I think his ceiling is high. I think he's got a lot to prove and a lot more to give. So I'm curious to see, what he does. There was just something about that culture that, let's not talk about winning Super Bowls when you haven't done anything, Let's not do that.
So they were getting ahead of themselves, too much hype.
Way ahead.
Was this like similar to the dream team hype of Philadelphia Eagles that year when they had everybody and you felt like your team was doing too much too early?
Maybe. I mean, I think, the Eagles have a history to lean back on. The Jets don't have anything to lean back on. So why are you talking about we're going to go to the Super Bowl when literally, you don't have an offensive line?
Lower the roof.
Yeah, so let's just take care of the fundamentals. You know what I mean? Let's get the line taken care of. Let's get the salary cap taken care of, which is going to take a couple years. And let's just see what there's a good young core, so let's see.
So I got to tell you guys how we met, because actually I knew not Pablo Schreiber from a can of Spam, and he was on the sidelines, I think with just one of your sons, or were you there with both of them?
No, I think it's just one, yeah.
Okay, yeah, you were there, and we were on the sidelines. It was the first game of Aaron Rodgers' career as a Jet, so everyone was in the building, everyone was hyped.
Big hype.
Big hype. I think Sexy Red was, I didn't even know who she was. It was a chick with a red wig.
Exactly.
She
Found
was
out
clapping money.
later.
Woody Johnson, I don't want to say she was clapping by him, but that wasn't going to sound right, but you know what I mean. And then there was Pablo Schreiber on the sideline. So I introduced myself to him, and then the rest is history. See how you're here? Look
and
how
here
that
we
works.
are. And I saw you with my man Meth.
Yes, he
right
came in
his
here.
chair.
He was sitting in that
and
chair.
You probably did. You already knew him before that day because
I
he was
met
there
him
as
the
well.
same day.
Same day. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we had worked together on The Wire, so we ended up being in the same box on that day.
Okay.
And commiserated on our Jets. Yeah. But by the fifth play, we were shaking our heads, and it was all feeling very familiar.
Oh my goodness. We talked about Justin Fields, but also you have Tyrod Taylor as a potential quarterback there too. Now, they paid Justin, so the inference is that he is going to be the starter. But I can tell you, because I'm an insider, that's part of my job too, is that there are people on the Jet staff who also really believe in Tyrod, think he's actually the more accurate quarterback. So what do you think about the prospect of Tyrod also there battling, for the quarterback job?
It's a great backup option. I mean, it was a great backup option when Aaron was there. He's had success at every stop that he's had. He's just a great journeyman backup quarterback. And if somebody goes down, then you have a good option, which is what you want. As I said, like Justin, I think his ceiling is higher. I know they're going to lean into the run game for sure with the 3 running backs they have. I know they're going to lean into his mobility as a quarterback and see what that can do. And I'm real hopeful that his passing percentage, completion percentage has increased every year he's been in the league. So let's see. Maybe he's on the brink of something.
And I forgot to ask you this about Aaron Rodgers. Do you think that he should retire or should he go to the Steelers?
I'd love to see him stay in the league. Listen, if we're going to complete this for full Jets fan effect, then he has to go somewhere and win the Super Bowl after being here with us. That's just how it works, you know what I mean? Or at least have some success. Brett Favre did it after he came and went on to the Vikings and won the NFC Championship. So Aaron Rodgers taking the Steelers deep into the playoffs and breaking the Mike Tomlin curse of losing in the first round would be, the huge, unbelievable Jets irony that we have to suffer with.
So do you think that your owner, Woody Johnson, should have fired Robert Saleh after 5 games? And what do you feel like the net effect of that was on your team?
It was terrible.
Okay.
It was terrible. But, who knows? I mean, it wasn't like we were burning up the league.
You were 2-3 at that point.
When he fired him. We were 2-3. There was certainly the possibility of a turnaround. I thought Saleh was a great coach.
Okay.
But, whatever. You can't – history is history. I think he probably made a mistake. I think he probably regrets it. But here we are. Let's see what the new administration can do.
And speaking of the new administration, what, as a Jets fan, were you looking for in a new coach? What did you feel like your team needed based off of everything that's been happening, this whole snake-bitten thing, just finishing 5-12 last season?
I think culture and turning down the volume on the franchise, I think, is the biggest positive improvement. Like, let's just not talk so much. Let's just do our business.
But that includes the fan base, Pablo.
Tell me.
Every week the sky is falling. This, New York sports radio is a lot of negativity. Not all. Don't come for me in the comments. I'm just saying.
I'm not sure that's the fan base so much as that is the press.
It's us.
Yeah.
It's us.
The press loves to have the loser Jets. You
haven't been
as the
Tweet
punching
Deck
bag
lately, have you? Okay.
And we, as the fan base, certainly if you sign up for this, you sign up for it. We're the laughing stock of the league at this point. And, you just hope that it turns around.
So do you feel like you all need to even look at a quarterback in the draft? There's a lot of prospects out there. Cam Ward presumably going to the Titans.
Yeah, he's not
I was just at Shador Sanders' pro day at Colorado. You got Jackson Dart, Ole Miss, Jalen Miller, Alabama, Will Howard. Are any of these prospects intriguing to you?
I don't think they should take a quarterback in the first round.
Okay. Okay.
My personal opinion, if you spend all that money on Justin Fields, let's at least give him a season to do it. It's not the deepest quarterback draft in the world this year. I say wait, give Justin at least a year to see what he's got. And maybe look at next season. If we're still an absolute slop of mess, then we can draft somebody in the first round next year. But I would not use a first round pick. If Shador is available, maybe you think about it. Cam Ward won't be. I I like Jackson Dart, but I don't think he's a number. What are we, number 7? Do we
Number
draft
seven.
number 7?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's a number 7 pick. I wouldn't use it. I would beef
So what
up.
position are you thinking they should go at 7?
I think probably defensive line, either interior, someone to match with Quinnen, or another strong edge rusher. Cornerback is probably the only position that's off the table. Safety is a possibility, but you don't draft a safety usually that high at number 7. So yeah, I'm looking at like a real impact defensive line player probably.
Okay. And so I wanted to go really quickly to the coaches because obviously you signed off on Aaron Glenn. So of all of the people that were out there as, potential candidates for this job, was Aaron who you wanted to land on and you feel like is best match for the team? And you talk about like, the Ben Johnsons out there, Pete Carroll, all of the people that ended up with these jobs.
I love Pete. I'm a Seahawks fan, from back. I grew up in Seattle, so I love Pete, but I don't think that's the right move for. We got a young core, like let's get a young coach. I would have been excited about Ben Johnson for sure, but no, I'm real excited about Aaron Glenn. I love that he's a former Jet. He was there when I first became a Jets fan at the beginning of my Jets tenure. So it's nice to see that.
I'm not sure Ben Johnson would have worked in New York with the heat of New York. Because you know how we press are. You just
I know.
I'm just saying.
No, that's the thing that it looks really good from Aaron's perspective is he looks like he handles everything pretty well. You know what I mean? And he's a defensive-minded coach. I think we needed to stay defensive-minded because we had that defense did not look good last year. Which is supposed to be like our
particularly
calling card.
After Robert Saleh left, and then they had Jeff Albrecht take over.
That was so disappointing, man. Like, should be the one thing we're good at, and we couldn't even stop the ball.
Is there anyone else that you're particularly excited about the draft, or is there a trade that you feel like you think would be interested in happening? And I'll even bring something to your attention because
give it to me.
The Cleveland Browns are trying to figure things out, quarterback wise. Now, I was just at the NFL owners meetings in West Palm, Florida just a few days ago, and the owner, Jimmy Haslam, just basically said that Deshaun Watson, not my words, the owner of the Browns, said that Deshaun was a swing and a miss.
Yep.
So, maybe the potential of a Kirk Cousins going from Atlanta maybe to Cleveland.
Why not? Yeah, the Browns have had some success bringing in, some aged veterans.
Joe
Flacco had a great season over there, and why not try give a swing on Kirk Cousins? He didn't look good last year, man.
Started off a little bit hot, and then I don't know what happened after that. But
I think he's coming out. He's old and coming off that surgery. I think with another year of healing, I think he could potentially right the ship. Let's see. I think it's worth a shot. I saw something the other day about the Browns kind of holding out hope for next year and Arch Manning. What do you think? There's anything to that?
I mean, there's always a possibility. That's not why. The reason why I did that is because I always like to focus on what the bird is in hand right now.
Right.
You don't know what your season's going to end up like. You don't know what your record's like. Hopefully he's still, among us. Hopefully he's not injured, healthy, whatever. There's so many things that can happen. So I can't be looking at next year's quarterback.
I hear you. They need that, though. They need that guy. They need that franchise quarterback. If you look at, like, NFL franchises, they're really, like, one of a handful of teams that have never had a real, true, legitimate franchise quarterback. They've never had an Elway, a Manning, something like this that you can hang your hat on. And they're a storied franchise, the Browns, but never had a franchise quarterback. So, and poor Miles, he's doing his thing out there, but he's not getting a lot of support.
About these headlines, Pablo. Okay,
not getting a lot of support.
There you go. Well, he did threaten to be traded or wanted to get out of there, but he got his money. So GM Andrew Berry did work it out. Money is a great disinfectant, Pablo. It does help.
It'll make everything better.
Now listen. I wanted to know if you were the Topanga, right? California version of Luka Doncic, because I saw that you participated in the NBA All-Star game for Team Bonds. But what happened out there, Pablo?
What do you mean what happened? We won.
But did you play like you felt like you should have played, or?
Listen, I didn't get injured. I came home in one piece.
Oh, okay. That's the standard?
Shoot.
That would be a terrible standard for NFL players.
I'm in my mid to late 40s, man.
I thought you were about to say you're in your prime.
Yeah, I'm decidedly not in my prime.
Okay.
I got out there. I played basketball with some young people, and
Okay.
I came home in one piece, and my son got to watch.
Okay.
And listen, I know you probably checked Instagram, so you probably saw that I had the highest plus minus on the entire game. I was a plus 27. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, why don't you crystallize that?
That means my team outscored the other team
Yeah.
by 27 points when I was playing.
When you were playing.
Yeah.
And how many points of that differential did you contribute to? Oh, that was such a great question. Damn.
Like 8 rebounds.
Oh, 8 rebounds?
Yeah, I had a meager 4 points.
Okay, so we're Angel reaching
But
it out.
it was. I feel like I could have scored a lot more, but they just weren't giving me the ball.
There's a lot of people who feel like they can score a lot
They
more.
just wanted, everybody wanted their own shots, and nobody wanted to give me the ball. Whatever. Next year it's in LA, so I'm coming back.
Oh,
yeah,
we're going to see a sequel.
Next year, MVP of the All-Star Game.
Sponsored
You heard it
by
here
Icy Hot.
first. Ruffles, I'm coming for you.
Well, I went to high school with Steve Francis.
Oh, yeah.
And
Stevie
he
franchise.
is from Maple Avenue
Yeah.
around the way. I'm going to stand up real quick because I love standing up and doing demonstrations and stuff. That's kind of my thing. So I know you can't hear me right now, but that's all right. You'll figure it out. But so Steve Francis is known for the high.
Little crossover.
Yes.
Oh,
he used to
yeah.
come up like here.
Oh, yeah.
That came from my area, so it was like, bam,
You taught him that?
Of course. It was like boom, and then him and Treon from Springbrook, it was like bam, bam. So I just wanted
Lean
to let you know
back.
I look.
Lean back. Yeah. I played with Steve in an All-Star game in Baltimore. Back in my 20s when I could actually
You
hoop.
did?
Yeah,
Look at that.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of California, because I know that's where you live now, but I was reading up on you, and you're actually born in a hippie commune of, now tell me if I'm saying this right, Ymir?
Weimer.
See, of course I got that wrong. British Columbia, to a mom who was a psychotherapist?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And a beautiful backdrop of breathtaking scenery. And I'm just curious, when you combine all of these things, how did it inspire you as an actor?
Oh, man, I don't know. I come from BC, which is gorgeous, lots of forests, beautiful mountains, Canadian Rockies of British Columbia. So how has it shaped me as an actor? My father was an acting teacher when I was growing up. I'm sure that shaped me. I always say that I think one of the main things that taught me to be an actor is that I had a great imagination when I was a kid because all my best friends were trees.
Okay.
So,
but I love that. I'm a nature person.
Yeah.
We can go with our bare feet into the Amazon forest if you want to.
So there was a lot of playing outside, a lot of
Yeah.
spending time by yourself. You had to make up your own games, and you had to keep yourself entertained. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know.
So was that like an accurate description, the hippie part
hippie
of it,
commune.
of Weimar?
Weimar, the actual commune was called Wild Horse. It was in the mountains above the town called Weimar in BC. Yeah, it was just a lot of like expatriate, ex-Americans that had fled the Vietnam War and went up there, in the 1960s to start something new. And my mom lived in a communal house with like 10 or 12 other people, and that's where I was born. But we left when I was 6 months old and lived a much more normal life.
Yeah. Okay.
than
All
that.
right.
Yeah.
So how does kind of nature speak to who you want to be as a man, and why do you feel like you have like this soulful connection with being out in the wilderness?
I don't know, man. I didn't grow up with religion. I think is one aspect of it. My parents weren't religious; they were agnostic. But I think when I was younger, I always kind of yearned for something, some connection to some higher power of some sort, even though I wasn't given it. I wasn't, handed like a template. So when I was younger, my sort of church became like being outside, and I used to love to like find the highest point around and go climb it, and that became kind of like seeking some kind of higher power for me, was getting up high, climbing high, and being out in nature. So I think it's provided that backdrop for me for most of my life, where the entertainment industry is what it is. Things come and go, and I've had plenty of ups and plenty of downs, and
I know about that.
lots of times where there's not a lot going on, and you have to create your own entertainment and sustenance, soul sustenance. And so for me, I've always got that from being having a connection to nature.
You be out there rock climbing, you know what you're doing?
I'm not a rock climber, no, but I love to hike, and I just
Okay.
love to be up high and get a view.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But then now recently it's transferred. I never lived by the ocean, so I wasn't an ocean person. And I like fresh water mostly. I like lake and river and stuff. But now I live also part-time by the ocean and started surfing. And so that's another like way to connect and commune with nature is like catching waves and literally like trying to
You be out there with Jaws, Pablo?
oh yeah he's all
With
over
no
the place.
fear,
Mexico,
and
California,
and Willie the whale and all that other
yeah,
stuff.
great white. You know what they say about sharks?
No,
right?
I don't. What do they say, Pablo?
You know how to find out if there's sharks in the water?
No.
You stick your finger in the water, you lick it. If it's salty, there's sharks.
As I told you, I've recently gotten into gardening.
Yeah.
I used to have a friend who owned a house, and he was always talking about his magnolias. I'm like, what you know about magnolias? You know, he's a guy talking about. And so now that I'm a homeowner, I'm like, oh, I'm all into it. You know, I just told you about the grass, and I'm at the nursery every week and all this stuff. And actually what I find is that it really does help me to create good headspace in the morning.
I've had periods of my time where I got more into gardening. I had a vegetable garden up in upstate
you
in
do
in the Catskills. Okay. California's a great place for gardening. I have like some citrus trees, but and a little like above ground whatever garden bed that is
Got
not
some
tended.
herbs
And
in
I
there?
don't. I got herbs.
Got some
that's
herbs
it.
in there?
That's it. Yes, a bunch of different kind of herbs.
Got some herbs. Okay.
But yeah, there's something about putting things in the ground and watching them grow that
yes.
does something beautiful for the soul. There's something about having to even having house plants.
I agree.
Like if you let your house plants die, it tells you something about your ability to take care of things,
Yes,
right?
it does.
And ultimately, I think one of our main reasons for being here is to be a caretaker. It's always been huge for me. Like parenting is one of my main goals and focuses in life. And I have 2 teenage boys, and they're amazing. And I want to pour as much love into them as I can. But gardening and taking care of houseplants is like another indication of how you take care of the world around you.
And before we get into your role as a father, your half brother, is Liev Schreiber, and I was reading that you didn't really grow up that close to him, and then you guys kind of obviously found some closeness a little bit later in life. But what was the point where that actually occurred, where you all came together a little bit more?
Well, when I lived in New York, I mean, we just didn't grow up together because he's 10 years older than me. We have the same father, different mother, and he grew up in New York City. I grew up in BC on the West Coast. So we didn't meet till I was 16.
But you say that so cavalierly. You know,
Which?
that is he's your half brother by blood, but I mean, we don't meet until we're 16. I mean, but that's still something.
Well, it's just very unique relationship, because it's somebody that, like you said, it's your blood brother. We have the same father. So I look at him and I see my dad. We have the same hairline. We have the same hips.
Eyes. Hips.
Similar eyes. Yeah, like the way we walk. If you look at like footage of us walking from behind,
I'll be sure to do that.
you see my dad.
Okay.
We're both bow-legged and whatever. So he's somebody that I, recognize and recognize my father in, but we never spent any time together. So it's also this strange, like, you experiment in how you deal with someone who you don't know, but is very, very close to you in terms
And
of
outside
blood.
of both being in New York, like
Yeah.
when did it what moment or what time was it that you really feel like you reconnected or connected? Because I know you did it when you were younger too.
Parenting.
Okay.
He's got kids that are, pretty similar age to mine.
Yeah.
So, when he had his kids and then I had mine, that was definitely a natural point of coming together and bonding over that. Our father passing away a couple years ago was another inflection point of becoming closer. But yeah,
And speaking of your father is former actor Carol Schreiber. And I also come from a family where my parents remarried. I have siblings that are half siblings as well. And that is a big part of, I know, who I feel like I became too, because, I think I was 14, single or just a single child for all that time, and then I had 4 siblings in the span of 4 years, and that just changed everything. So I'm just curious about how as you mentioned, your dad and you and Liev having different moms. How do you feel like if you look back at that what it affected you?
We have a big crazy family. My mom had 3 kids with 3 different men, and my dad had 3 kids with 3 different women. So I'm the one combination of my mom and my dad, and I have 4 half siblings on.
Me too.
Right.
Yeah.
So it just is what it is. I think it affected me in the sense of like, having a bunch of people around me that had various different connections. All my half siblings have half siblings. My brother's brothers and my sister's sisters that aren't technically related to me, but they're my family. So, we have a big, open, crazy, my dad would have, when he was alive, he would have get-togethers with his ex-wives and the children. Christmas, we did
so everybody gets along.
Christmases all together. They, with all of their weird things that you can imagine that would be. It was a complex but loving, beautiful family.
Okay.
I feel very fortunate that I grew up with the parents that I did.
And speaking of parents, you are a father to Timo and Dante, and I'm just curious, what have they taught you about yourself?
Everything. Becoming a parent for me was the moment that everything changed for me. It was such a I tried to put this into words with somebody just the other day, and I'll probably fail again, but it was the most liberating sense of relief when I had my first kid. And it kind of goes against everything you would expect, right? You'd think it's like, oh my God, I'm having a child. It's going to be stressful. Like, how am I going to take care of this kid? I don't know what to do. For me, it was like the moment I had a child, all of the silly shit that I was worried about, all of my inconsequential problems felt like nothing. They were gone. You know what I mean? Because there was this life in front of me that now every single decision that I made in my life had to be filtered through that. And so it just in the most beautiful way, it took away my ego, I think, in a way where I wasn't so self-focused and so self-obsessed. I was now really living for these things that lived in my house with me. And it was a really, really a beautiful time for me, and continues to give me everything that I ever dreamed it would.
Yeah, because when I look at your pictures with you and your sons on Instagram, you can, and there's some where you're laying together and things like that. I mean, you can really tell that they're your heart. You know what I mean?
It's amazing. My dad was amazing. I'm so grateful that I got the time with him that I did. I think he's like a special soul. And so, for me, it was passed down quite naturally that that's what I'm here for. There's acting and there's all the other things that I get to do, and they're not as important. What I'm really here for is to usher this next generation into the world and give them give them the opportunity to be good people and contribute something positive to the world.
So, personal question, you are not with the mom of your kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you were speaking about what you came from in terms of, half siblings and things like that, and parents not being together. I'm curious how you feel like, just the change in marital status and 2 parents in a home has impacted how you're raising your kids.
It's tough. I mean, there's, as you can imagine, there's a lot caught up in that. There's a lot of, trauma and pain and disappointment and all that stuff. But in a lot of ways, it also affected me positively in the sense that I think I became a better dad.
How so? In
divorce. Well, when you're married, there's you're splitting. The kids are this thing that you don't really have time for each other, and you barely have time for your kids, right? And then you get divorced, and you suddenly your life is in 2 different things. You've got your time and your time with your kids. And so the time with your kids becomes this very concerted, focus on them. And so you can really it's no, all the distractions go away, and then you get your time to be by yourself, and that's different. But it just becomes a little more focused, and I think distills parenting down to a place where you can really, that's one positive outcome of a very, difficult and hurtful situation, obviously.
But there's so much of that, and there's a reason why I'm asking you all of that, because when now you kind of think about all the things that we've been talking about collectively, how do you think that, pours into who you are and what you tap into as an actor, particularly even in your first acting role?
Yeah. Everything that you live through makes up what you have. It's your toolbox, right? Like I've always said, you can go to acting school, you can study with acting teachers, but the only way to become a great actor is to live an interesting life. To experience heartbreak, to experience all of the different things that you're eventually going to call upon and use in your career. So everything that you go through as an actor is grist for the mill and helps you become better at what you do.
Now, you played a very interesting character on Law and Order, your recurring role there.
Yeah.
William Lewis?
William Lewis, I believe he was called, yeah.
Yeah, and so you had to go to some very interesting places to play that role in particular. And I'm always fascinated with how actors have to tap in. I've interviewed several actors over, my time as well, and I know there's some who go out in the woods and try to really get one with the script, and I am fascinated by it because I know that I cannot cry on command, so I can play an alpha woman. I can do that. So you got a one, I'm your girl.
You're playing that role right now.
I can play that. I can definitely play that role. But when you think about that character, where do you have to go to play, a character that's sinister or something, or somebody that's doing something that you would never even do? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, he was an absolute sociopath, right? So the thing with him and that character was to be as compelling and magnetic and like normal as possible, right? That's the most chilling version of it, is somebody who you look at and you're like, oh, he's a normal guy and he's totally fine and quite charismatic. And then obviously is one of the things that's always drawn me in as an actor is exploring the broadest interpretations of human behavior, the most drastic things that we can do as humans, right? Because that's just kind of where the interesting stuff lies. So a guy like that who's kidnapping children and Olivia Benson and and then defending himself in court, and
I saw that, yeah.
And it's a very specific role because the fan base for Law and Order SVU is quite strong and vocal. And so, and they have a real connection and affinity to Mariska, who plays Olivia Benson.
Been there a long time.
Who's amazing. She's been there a long time. She's a fantastic actress, fantastic human being. And they love her deeply with all their heart. And it was the first time that she was put in jeopardy, right? That's why the role struck such a chord, is because rather than her being the defender of young and innocent girls, she was now the victim and the one being
because of me.
So there's a lot of anger in the fan base there, but we're working out we worked out our differences many years ago.
You do that so well, and one of the characters that you have played that is among my favorite, obviously, is Merriman in Den of Thieves.
Hey-yo.
And then also Tonto in 13 Hours in Benghazi. Love those characters. What comes to my mind when I see you playing, especially when your hair is low in Den of Thieves? I'm like, you got a little black in you. I'm like, you got a little black in you, because you play just that whole swag, urbaned out, OG type of vibe. You play that well.
It's funny, man. I grew up in rural British Columbia, where there was one black person in the town that I lived. He was the owner of the lumber yard at the end of my road.
Oh, okay.
And that was it.
That's
the only black person I had seen until I was 12 years old. And then I moved to to inner city Seattle.
Yeah.
And was in an all-black neighborhood and bussed up to Eckstein Middle School. So all through high school, I lived in an all-black neighborhood. I loved hip-hop. I was,
See, I knew I felt it. You see, I'm a reader of spirits, y'all.
Yeah.
Can y'all give me that? I have discernment. You see, I feel that often. Go ahead.
But it's a larger piece of a bigger puzzle, which is, I think that was one of the things that made me an actor, is that I was going from this one crazy extreme to another, and had to learn how to adapt and fit in with people. And I love people. I love people of all kinds. I love human beings. I love getting to know people. And their differences, and so that's a different and longer story.
It's all good, but I do. So here's even what led me to kind of press you on Instagram, because I think I saw you talking about Den of Thieves, and someone was making a comment about Den of Thieves 2, and you were like, "Yeah, that's interesting that I was not in Den of Thieves 2." So what happened with that?
Well, I died.
I mean,
they killed me at the end of the first one.
But I mean, could we have not figured out? Maybe you didn't die. Don't act like
What's interesting is I don't think people.
No, you were so compelling.
People didn't know what the impact was going to be. You know what I mean? Our team, right? Me and 50 were kind of the regulator crew, whatever, that was robbing the bank. Because of the nature of the movie, it was designed as you're supposed to connect with those guys. They're actually the good guys, right? It's kind of like a Heat thing where you got Robert De Niro and Al Pacino.
First of all, I have to stop you right there.
Yeah.
Because I'm so disappointed. Have you not seen the movie Extraction?
Yeah, I have.
So you know what happened at the end of Extraction?
He's
so no, he jumps into the water.
He's in mortal danger.
And we think that he is what? Dead.
He's in
but
mortal
what happens
danger.
at the beginning of Extraction 2?
No, that one was very obviously put him in a situation
Was
where
it?
he could or could not be dead. Here's what I'll tell you about Den of Thieves. I actually just had dinner with Christian Gudigast, who directed the movie. Both Den of Thieves 1 and Den of Thieves 2. And he and Lionsgate and 50 are all very bullish on making a prequel. So that's in the works, and we're gonna figure that out.
But don't you feel me? I'm trying to give you, your character was that guy. You see what I'm saying? And I just felt like you should have figured it out, or just not have had. I mean, just
think
so
a
you
lot
could
of.
come back.
I'm trying to be diplomatic here.
Yeah, but you don't have to be.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yes, thank you. Now he's picking up what I'm putting down. Thank you.
Anyway, I'm gonna let other people blow that smoke.
You know why?
Because that's just
okay, but
I'm a modest guy.
Okay, I mean, I really felt like not only should you have been back, but I felt like you played that really well. And the other thing that stands out to me when I think about 13 Hours in Benghazi, when I think about how you played Merriman in Den of Thieves, is you be getting jacked.
Do a little bit of that.
I used to run track, so that's a compliment as a Tar Heel. If I'm saying, you look like you got these. So what's your workout routine? What is kind of your go-to thing that makes you? Because your arms were like 2 thighs.
I have a great trainer, Eddie Rayburn, and I have been working together since Den of Thieves. That was the first project we worked on. We have refined our process through a few different projects that culminated in the first 2 seasons of Halo that we did together, in which I got even more jacked than any of the other ones before. So we're just working on using my body and what it can do, and getting the most out of it.
So more weights.
I'm all weights. I tried it. We recently have been
cardio.
Oh, no cardio.
Oh.
Until you're leaning out.
Okay.
And then it's all cardio.
Okay.
Weights for muscle building.
Yeah. Clearly.
Olympic weights, sort of a bodybuilder routine, basically. But the thing that does is that it leaves you kind of not limber. And so
you weren't stretching while you were.
No, we have. We've had to incorporate that now. A lot of mobility, a lot of stretching, and now sprinting is the one thing that we're trying to keep it. I mean, it doesn't really look like sprinting when I do it.
I did watch your form when you were running in Den of Thieves.
Oh, come on. I did pretty good. I tried. I did my best.
So do you eliminate anything out of your diet when you're trying to lean out?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what's the main thing?
Everything. Just chicken and broccoli.
That's it.
For weeks.
Yeah, because Morris Chestnut is my co-host
And then water.
on my
Yeah.
former, and he doesn't do any sauces. Everything is
Right.
completely paleo and disgusting, and yeah.
It's all, but that's all. I only do that when it's
time.
go time. You know what I mean? That's 2-3 weeks before anything shirtless. I'll start to do that.
Let's speak about Halo. Obviously, you had 2 seasons of that, and I want you to tell me what you feel like was the best part of that experience first.
So many things. I mean, the opportunity to get to lead a show was huge. I had sort of waited for that opportunity for a long time. I learned so much in the process of making that show. Learned a lot about politics. I learned a lot about dealing with,
What do you mean you learned a lot about politics?
Just how you deal with this. You have a number of cooks in the kitchen on every project. So dealing with studio executives, dealing with directors, dealing with producers, dealing with writers. When you are in that position of wanting to affect change and make things better, you have to learn how to deal with everybody. And I haven't always been the best. I haven't always been the best politician. I haven't always been the most diplomatic. So I'm getting better at that while still affecting change in the way that I want to affect change.
Are you verbal? Are you real forward when you have an opinion? Is that what it is?
I'm just very intense. I really care about what I do, and my filter is not the best. But it's getting better.
It's getting better.
It's getting much better.
So you're learning to listen more.
Sit
back.
And also just know that you don't have to do everything at once. Like you can do things in piecemeal. In fact, if you try to do everything at once, it oftentimes overwhelms people. So just, trying to listen, trying to get my point across gently instead of forcefully. All of those things are great tools, and the people are, I would say, the biggest upside of that. I just met so many great people. Loved the experience and all the people that I got to work with.
So how did you process the cancellation of the show?
It was a stage. There wasn't really like a moment where it was canceled. It was kind of, we didn't know, and then we kind of figured it out. So I had a long time to process it. It was a really hard job. It was really difficult in a lot of ways. So by the time that we're not going to do it anymore, I was really ready to move on and do something else as well. So, it was what it was. I was happy that I got to do it, had the opportunity to do it. Really grateful that I was put in that position. And
I can tell you learned a lot about, bureaucracy, with the whole thing, just kind of listen to it and just what I was reading up, on the situation as well and the fan base, because I feel like, Halos is the millennials version of Star Trek, right? And a very expectant fan base with regards to that. So I can tell, especially being, lead in that project and things like that there was a lot to have to kind of take back, but things that you wanted to have maybe more say into, right?
Yeah, I just want things that I do to be good. That's the bottom line. And so I'm always trying to make everything I'm in as good as it can be. So affect positive change in as large a way as I can. So that's the bottom line is trying to talk respectfully to people in a way that pushes the thing in the direction that you want.
And lastly here, obviously you've got some new projects on tap.
Yes, ma'am.
His and Hers, Motor City. Tell me about it.
First one is something that has been titled The Savant. It's an Apple miniseries with Jessica Chastain that comes out sometime. I don't know if there's a date yet, but it'll come out sometime this year.
Okay, so that's something different.
Yeah, that's different than the two that you mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think that'll come out before the other two.
Okay.
Motor City is a feature film with Alan Ritchson. Really crazy, epic, 1970s revenge action opera with almost no dialogue. I think there's 3 lines in the movie.
Okay.
Jack White did the music for us from White Stripes.
Okay.
So I have no idea how it's going to come out, what it's going to be like, but the idea is so cool.
Yeah.
The concept is so cool, and it's a great cast. Shailene Woodley, Ben Foster, and a bunch of other people are in it with me and Alan Richson. And I'm really curious to see it because the director, Potsy Ponzarelli, is super, super talented, and I'm curious to see how that comes out. And then His and Hers is on Netflix. I don't know, again, probably the end of the year, I think, probably come out. Tessa Thompson, John Bernthal, another great cast.
Look at you. You're involved in so many things.
I stayed busy for the past year.
Things, yeah.
Looking to make things busy now, too.
Okay. Well, I got to send you out on this. We are coming up on the 2025 regular season. Your Jets will probably be led by Justin Fields or what have you. So do you have a prediction, for your Jets? What how do you feel like? What's the record? How far are they going to go? What's going to happen? And then we'll hold you to it.
Okay, great. I love being held to things, especially when it concerns the Jets.
Yes.
No, as I said, we're going to focus this year with the Jets on carrying a big stick but not talking too loudly.
Okay.
So no big predictions. Definitely nothing that involves
no record.
Nothing that involves the Super Bowl.
We're not going to be better than 5-12.
Yeah, we're going to be better than 5-12.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the
double digits.
We're hoping for the playoffs, which would
okay.
mean you got to have probably 10 wins, 10 or 11 wins. So that's the hope. That's the goal. I don't.
Say it with your chest, Pablo. Come on,
listen,
own it.
Listen, I have too much pain. I have too much history to go there.
Okay.
I mean, did Meth give you a prediction?
He did, actually.
What did he say?
I mean, I was dead wrong. I don't remember them, but we did like the AFC Championship prediction, the NFC Championship. We did the Super Bowl.
No, I'm talking Jets record. Did he go on record saying what?
Oh, no. We weren't there yet. It was so much earlier. We were. Now we're at the end of the season.
You learn as a Jets fan not
to bob and weed.
Yeah,
the whole
not
question.
to put too much out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what time it is, guys. Bring my little balls in. Pablo, we do this with all the guests. You got to put your feet up.
Okay.
Get a little bit more, comfortable.
I mean, I was already lounged out. I feel like.
Well, these are called the mama chairs. In case you didn't realize, they kind of look like a woman's body. So I don't know if you picked up on that. But how you feeling now?
Very supported.
Very supported.
Very supported. Yeah.
Okay. The good thing about this, as I bring my microphone closer, is that I'm such a great host, Pablo, that we made sure that we ordered Jason's Deli food for you. So you have what does he have waiting out there? He's got a chicken panini with some pesto in there.
Let me tell you something. Anything that involves panini, I'm in.
Oh, you're in? Did I do good?
That's the right bread.
You gotta
have panini on a sandwich.
And then we got Pablo put up at the vice presidential suite.
Don't tell him where I'm staying.
I'm not gonna put the name of the hotel. I'm saying that your girl takes care of you. You know what I'm saying? And that is because I'm very thankful for you coming into town, taking your time. You're so humble. I just remember, meeting you. And then we also ran into each other. I think I was going towards the Shaq party. I think you were coming out. This was like in Vegas.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Super Bowl.
And you know what you said to me, and I actually was holding you to that because when you were coming out, and I think I was going in, we were like, hey, and you were like, hey, if you ever need me on the show, and you see, I fell up on the whoop-de-doo. So this is the whoop-de-doo.
You did it. We made it to the whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, so we definitely made it, and I appreciate you for coming on. So for Pablo Schreiber, I'm Josina Anderson. This has been another episode of The Exhibit. Thank you for coming on. Pablo Schreiber in the building, everybody.
Hey, listen,
we
thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thank me?
Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Thanks for getting me out here.
Every once in a while, I do something good.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Well, I just want to extend a very big thank you for Pablo Schreiber coming on my show in person, in studio, right here in the building on The Exhibit. We very much appreciate him not only just talking about his Jets, but opening up about the arc of his acting career and just his life in general. I'm not going to just ask about the silly and fun things, but I'm going to get in there as far as who someone is as a person. And I very much appreciate Pablo, taking the time to open up a little bit about his life. Sometimes things are a little personal, but I love that we can talk about that, in a safe space and really have, a wholesome conversation about that. Because there's so much that we go through that just kind of makes up who we are. So once again, appreciate Pablo for coming in the building. Remember, you can find The Exhibit not only on my personal X page, but also on the YouTube channel that we have for the show at The Exhibit Concept, and also www.theexhibitconcept.com. Make sure you watch and subscribe and support the show. And as always, we truly appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.